Here we go. Hi, welcome back to Comic Book Gallery. I'm your host, Joaquin, and today I have a special guest. He's special in my heart. His name is Brian Ramos. Brian, say hi to everybody.
I'm a very special person. Thank you.
He is a very special person. So we're back to playing MTG Arena, and by now you should be accustomed to Brian giving me beatdowns or my rare occasions where I win two in a row. But I want to use this time as we're playing against each other to start talking about either magic related content or another topic, which is because my channel is Comic Book Gallery, I want to talk about comic books. And before I was asking Brian because I knew that he was into collecting comic books. I just didn't know when he started. So, what got you into collecting comic books?
Well, I just started very lightly, just because as a kid they were very, like, in a sense, affordable.
Yeah.
So I remember I started off. My very first one was the Venom comics.
Okay.
Um, I always liked the '90s animated Spider-Man, the Venom series where Spider-Man got the black suit, and all that cool stuff.
Yeah, that was a great show.
So after that, I wanted to know like more about it, and then I kind of picked up some of those ones. But then for me, it kind of dropped off for a little bit, and it wasn't until fairly recently that then I started picking up more on Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I think that was the main thing, was kind of just finding ones that were interesting to me. Like the superhero ones were always cool, but I don't know, I kind of lost interest for a little bit. Um, but Star Wars was always my favorite thing. So once I found out they had Star Wars comics, I started reading those, started getting into like the extended universe and stuff. Um, and then after that, it was more on, okay, Disney came in, destroyed the extended universe. So now let's find out where the lore is going to go. So since then, I've just been collecting the Darth Vader ones and
So
just
how are
kind of
you
reading.
enjoying that read? I've been hearing some good things about it. Like I've collected a few covers, but I haven't really got into reading that one yet.
Yeah, the Darth Vader ones have been awesome. And I mean, in the sense, there's some stuff that I like. I know some folks aren't 100% thrilled in terms of the direction Disney takes the Star Wars lore, like changing how, and I won't, no spoilers on it, but just
Well,
kind of this
if
change.
if you know if you're talking about an issue that's like 2, 3 weeks or a couple of months old, then spoiler away. I mean, most
Oh yeah,
people um, they've already read it. If they're reading it, they've already read it. Now if you're talking about last week's or the weeks before the issue, okay, you don't have to tell us about everything. But
yeah, yeah. So in this case, this would be right at the beginning of the series. So this was earlier this year, very early in the year, and it was mainly just kind of the extended universe described how the Sith Lords made um, their crystals for their lightsabers, and
okay.
so Disney basically changed it so that there's a new version of how the lightsabers get their red color. And so I know there's some folks who didn't like that, and I think that's just like, I don't know, in a sense, a creative difference of, we're accustomed to a certain way of um, Star Wars being, and when Disney comes in and changes up the lore a little bit,
Yeah.
uh, I think it's just natural for folks to either be really excited to see where it's going, or for folks to be, I love the extended universe, I don't want anything to change.
I can somewhat relate to that in the sense of um, when I'm watching some of these comic book movies, especially when it came to like the X-Men, right? So
Yeah.
everybody loved the first two X-Men, right? And like especially the second one, just to see that was the first time you really seen Wolverine just um, go at it, right?
Yeah.
And until Old Man Logan came out, which I thought was like one of the best X-Men movies ever. Um,
Oh, for sure.
but X-Men 3 was just like they just try to cram all this stuff in there that they shouldn't have done. And I, as a fan, I was like, man, you kill off all these X-Men, you bring in the Dark Phoenix story without doing the Starjammers and putting it in space. And I was just like so disappointed with the direction that they took with that. And even people who were non-comic book fans also felt the same way because they didn't do that well of a job explaining who she is and how she became how she became the Phoenix to the Dark Phoenix. It was just the end of two. All of a sudden, she starts glowing, if I remember correctly, and she becomes the Phoenix, and then all of a sudden she's a Dark Phoenix. So I feel your pain when it comes to stuff like that. I don't like it when they um, what's the word I'm looking for? When they change the genre or they change what you're used to so much. It'd be like why do you make me discard a card when I'm trying to think about what I want to say?
This is our friends. That's what we do.
I guess I would get rid of lava coil. That's gonna do me no good here. I got
You're gonna spend
two.
another turn putting down that Ixalan's binding.
No, because then you'll just put it back to my hand. I guess. All right, I got to deal with this. Um, it would be like the equivalence of Black Panther if they made him, I don't even want to say a white, a European. If they made him like Asian, you're like, what? They're like,
Yeah, no, that's
yeah, he's
true.
the Prince of Wakanda. You're like, wait a minute, what? He was adopted. Just totally changing the story. We were just like, oh, come on now, you know, stop that.
And another one.
Oh god, and I got rid of cleansing Nova too.
Can you go ahead and
Oh
please discard a card? Thank you.
yeah, okay, I gotta have a little bit of retribution, so we'll get rid of this
Damn.
and put this out there. Oh,
Damn.
wait, you're just gonna exile him. Oh, damn it.
Why would I do that?
Because that's who you are. But back to what you like about the Darth Vader comic. I've been hearing a lot of people have similar sentiments about it where they've really been enjoying the read. And like I said, I've collected a few covers, but I feel like I need to go buy the trade back and start from there to have a better understanding of where they're going with the books. Because sometimes when you jump into a middle of the story, if you don't read it from the start, then you get lost. Just like me, I'm just lost right now. I have nothing to play. He's got nickel, and yeah, I had no removal. I mean, I could have cleansing Nova to kill him.
Could have.
I could have. There's a lot of things I could have
was fighting
did.
dragons when I was truly fighting ants.
Okay, so there was a comment you made about you watched the animation series, right? What is it? The Star Wars. What's that one where they have the Clone Wars or something like that?
Rebels.
Yeah, Star Wars Rebels. I couldn't get into that. Like I watched it a little bit, but I even tried to watch it from the start. I don't know why. And I'm a Star Wars fan. I mean, I don't know.
I think for at least for Rebels, you had to push through. Like the first season was kind of rough, but then the lore of exploring the Sith in the second and third season
No,
just kind
okay.
of brought it home a little bit, you know?
All right. All right. Now I'll try it
And I think
again.
that's where you can get really the value of it.
I
And I will say, like,
always
one of
have
the
an
things that's
answer.
nice that Disney's been doing lately has been the fact that they are connecting the different universes in
Yeah.
the sense that things that you watched in Star Wars, Rebels, Clone Wars, the comics, and the yeah, the comics, the Clone Wars, Rebels, even the movies, like they're all connecting.
Okay.
And here you
Ah,
go.
you'll be nothing. I am the hammer. You are the
Alrighty. That was probably my best deck that I told him that could stand up to Super Friends. I think. Let me see what we're on time on this. Yeah, we're at 10 minutes. Okay, we can do another one. And continue this conversation because I can't handle the Super Friends deck. Not with the majority of the cards that I have. I mean, he put a put together deck. I think if anything, all right, keep your Super Friends. I'm gonna try this other hand disruption deck, and
Okay.
maybe
Super Friends?
yeah, Super Friends. Stay with Super Friends as we continue this conversation about Star Wars. Uh,
Okay.
what did you think of The Force Awakens? What did you think of that movie?
Oh. Oh, the new trilogy.
Yeah,
Well,
the
okay, I
one
will
that
say,
we've been waiting for, and by we, I'm talking me because I was born in 1972. Star Wars came out what, 76, 77? I think it was
yeah.
76. So that puts me at 5. I, to this day, remember going to the movies with my dad, sitting there with my folks, with my mom and dad, sitting there and watching the movie and just be like in total awe. Like that opening scene where Darth Vader comes through, right, and they have the battle. I mean, I was just like, who is this guy? He's super cool. And, seeing Luke Skywalker, I just thought everybody was so awesome. I was just like, I got to have all these figures, I got to have all these toys. Um, Empire Strikes Back comes out, and you're like, this is the best movie ever, practically. Then Return of the Jedi, which was somewhat of a disappointment. I mean, I know it wraps up the series, but to me, the best part was when he was dealing with Jabba the Hutt
With the
at the
iconic.
beginning when he's like rescuing Han. That's the best part of the movie to me. So that's
So,
what so that's
well,
where I'm coming from. So what do you think of, like I said, The Force Awakens? Then I'll tell you what I think of the movie.
I would say the one thing about Star Wars is that it's been, in a sense, split up by generation, right? You have
Yeah,
your generation, which grew up with the originals, right? Like you were there when Darth Vader said the iconic lines, of being Luke's father, right?
oh
And
man,
so
damn.
nothing in Star Wars that comes out afterwards will ever live up to the image that you had as a kid,
Yeah,
right? And so I think the challenge has been that you have these great Star Wars movies that come out, but they're really for the generation that's coming up. So the prequels, all the people who saw the original come out absolutely hated the prequels, right?
yeah,
But the prequels have aged fairly well now. And the people who actually liked the prequels were my generation, the millennials, right?
yeah,
We came in, and so for us, Star Wars, we were exposed to the prequels as ours, right? And
yeah,
so we look at, the original still awesome, still as great as we remember it, but really being really being generational in that I think afterwards we have kind of generations hating on each other. So I think the new one, the folks who I've heard like it the most have been younger folks who are just getting into Star Wars, or maybe saw the prequels first and are now
yeah,
thinking about exploring the older sets, right? Um, and so I think the folks, the millennials who grew up with the prequels, probably a good amount aren't the biggest fans of the new one, but are still open to it. And
yeah,
then you have the older generations who are like, "Nah, this is still not good, bro,"
yeah,
but are like probably closer to, "Oh, but it reminded me of the original feeling," like
yeah,
some of the stuff that they felt. So for me, the Force Awakens and even the Last Jedi, but really more the Force Awakens was a kind of like a nice throwback to the originals, in terms of like the style, while bringing in that like more modern J.J. Abrams feel.
yes,
Um, and then story wise, it I don't know, I'm iffy on the story still, especially with the Last Jedi basically undoing what J.J. Abrams did. Um,
yes. Okay, so let's table the second movie just for a moment.
Yeah.
When I when they announced The Force Awakens, me and my father were excited to go see it, and we came out of the movie theater like let down a little bit, but I didn't think it was that bad of a movie as some of the other hardcore,
Right on schedule.
some of the other hardcore fans were, like, oh, this movie's garbage. And what I did agree with him on is with the character Rey, um, holding her own in a lightsaber match with Kylo Ren. Okay, she just has her powers awakened. She's somewhat of a street fighter, a little scrappy, but being able to fight with a stick is a big difference between fighting with a sword and finesse, you know. On top of that, the training. So for her to go toe to toe like that, I just didn't like that. I just thought that was really bad for the story. And I feel it segued into the second movie even worse. And then what they did to Luke Skywalker, I was like, what are you doing? And why do you hate him? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, there was no need for that. Um, Showing him wanting to kill Kylo Ren. I mean, I know Luke was supposed to be rambunctious and um, a little hot headed, but to say that he was going to kill Kylo Ren because he saw a possible future of him becoming Kylo Ren, which is caused by him not being able to see that it's his fault that he caused this, and put everything in motion. I'm just like,
Mhm.
oh man, what? Why? And why? Why did they do that? I mean,
And also, there's so many things in that too. And not only one thing to keep in mind is that Luke Skywalker stayed true to he never wanted to kill Darth Vader, right?
yeah,
Like he didn't want to kill Darth Vader. He thought that Darth Vader could be redeemed. He thought that Darth Vader could be saved, right?
yeah,
And that was his flesh and blood. And so when you have the same thing happen with Kylo Ren, it it doesn't make sense in that why would he give up on Kylo Ren when he never gave up on his father, Darth Vader, right?
yeah,
And he saw Darth Vader be redeemed and become Anakin Skywalker again. And so he knows there's a chance for him to be redeemed. He knows that the dark side isn't permanent, right?
yeah,
And that he can um, recover, or he
No
can
time for a
recover
break.
Kylo Ren from the dark side. So it didn't make sense that the same character that redeemed and saved Anakin Skywalker and killed Darth Vader would all of a sudden just believe that the only way to save Kylo Ren or to save the Order or the Force is to basically take out. That doesn't make sense as Luke Skywalker's character, who never gave up on his own flesh and blood, his
yes,
father. Now all of a sudden thinks that Kylo Ren is beyond redemption, right? But
yeah.
Darth Vader wasn't.
Now, and um, the other thing about that movie was Princess Leia just having this, unbelievable control of the Force without any kind of background leading up into that. You know,
The Mary Poppins moment.
yeah, that was. I was just like, what? Now, have you read the books, the original books, like Star Wars: Empire Strikes Back? Have you gone that far?
I read the original extended universe, so
Hurry!
Revan, Darth Malgus, and like all of the extended universe ones.
Okay, so I haven't read into any of those books. Like, I picked up the Han Solo series, and when I get back up to Seattle,
Make
I
way,
plan on reading them.
Captain.
But
I'll be taking
with
that.
God, I totally lost my train of thought on that. But in the books, that's where I was going. In the books, I heard, "Oh damn it, you casted Vraska," and I had a counter up. That's a punt, people. Brian
Oh,
used a Jedi
yeah.
mind trick on me.
Look at
Damn you,
that.
damn you, Brian. Um, I in the books, I was told that Yoda at one point crashed two of the Imperial Star Cruisers together. Like that's how powerful he was. Did you hear anything about that?
Yeah, I've read. I mean, I didn't read a lot about the after the fall of the Empire, right?
Yeah.
But I know that at least Luke Skywalker, like the books described, how he could bring down a Star Destroyer with the Force and just kind of like almost godlike Force power. I mean, Luke Skywalker was the most powerful Jedi, so it makes sense. And I think the same thing applied to Yoda.
Yeah. That was a stupid glitch again. I tried to play my card and it wouldn't let me.
Really?
You know what? I'm not done
Yeah.
yet.
Well, I mean that's why we remind folks it is technically still beta.
Gonna stay beta forever.
Crew, attack at will.
So you did hear about, them being like just super OP.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
So
definitely.
so if they were that powerful, I mean, I'm glad they didn't show that in the movies because that would have just been like Dragon Ball Z kind of stuff.
Well, I think people want no, maybe not so with this trilogy, but if they did like the Old Republic, you would see like Darth Nihilus or Darth Revan doing crazy things like that. And I think that's what I mean in the Last Jedi. What was missing was you had Kylo Ren get tempted by the dark side, right? But the dark side that she was tempted by is not the dark side. That's not how the dark side would do things, and I think that's one of I will say that I'm not a fan of the Last Jedi. I don't think that they did great. They
Uh,
executed the story they wanted to tell really well,
yeah.
but in terms of story itself, I'm not a big fan of. Um, but I will say, outside of that context, um, the dark side just didn't fit with what we've known of it since the extended universe.
Yeah.
Uh, but I will, on the flip side, though, just to kind of throw it back to like on the comic book side, is the one thing that they are doing well is the fact that they are connecting everything. Like there's payoff and reward for watching the Clone Wars series or watching Rebels and reading the comics and doing all of that stuff. Um, so I think that is something that's very different from any other type of comic. Is that by reading the comics from Star Wars, they're literally connecting back to the movie, connecting back to the TV show, and then to some of the comics like series that came out before, which is something that you don't necessarily see. I think outside of everything, like you get rewarded for being loyal to Star Wars.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I did not know that. So do they have some? I thought I saw some comic book issue called what you call it, Darth Vader's Castle. Did you read that, or have you heard about that?
We need to
Yeah, I
move
think it's
quickly.
one of the. Yeah, I did. Well, I don't know. It depends. Are you talking about the comic book where they talk about Darth Vader's castle?
I think it was an actual issue.
There's one where they go more, where they talk about Darth Vader's castle,
Please stop.
and why he built it, and why he built it in Mustafar.
Yeah.
Uh, I believe it was one of the comic book issues. Uh, so if it's alluding to that, then yeah. But I think even and kind of goes back to the comic, the first one for the new series that came out this year was like how our lightsaber crystals get their color. Now we at least know for the Sith. How the Emperor collected all the lightsabers from the Jedi.
Oh wow.
And then
Oh,
you even find out that the Librarian was still alive and survived Order 66. And on top of that, in that same issue, and I think this came out in the summer, was when they find the secret vault in the Jedi Temple. Um, you see her going through these like hidden things that the Emperor is looking for, and in there you see what looks to be a Mandalorian helmet, but specifically looks kind of like basically looks like Darth Revan's helmet.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Well, you know
so
what?
although
Go ahead.
although Darth Revan still necessarily isn't canon, um, even though Dave Filoni wanted it to be, it is important to note that I think in general the fact that you kind of see hints that they're bringing back things from the extended universe.
Well, just hearing you talk about this has actually got me a little bit more interested in going back to actually start reading some of these comics because I like the universe. I mean, as far as like expanding a universe and having all these characters and history. I think that's what has an attraction to Game of Thrones in the sense of it's not just one house you're focusing on. It's all these different houses, and they all come together in this, in this struggle, and who's going to be king, and in this sense, who's going to be ruler of the galaxy. So there's not much I can do about any of this right now.
I even killed one of my pirates just because I could.
I figured out why I couldn't cast Ixalan Binding because you binded my Ixalan Binding.
I was waiting for you to Ixalan bind something, so I figured you would play white, and that means Ixalan's binding. So when you did it, I was happy that you didn't disrupt my hand, so I could Ixalan bind your Ixalan bind, so you couldn't do that to me anymore.
Yeah. I mean, this is supposed to be a mill deck, but that ain't happening. Not really. Keep taking it away.
I think you need to get rid of Vraska.
I can't. Oh man, this is just sad. I do have a psychic corrosion in hand, but I can't cast it.
You can cast it.
No, I'm cool.
Well, I mean, one thing to keep in mind though is that Vraska is close to ultimate, so by putting out the psychic corrosion, you're forcing me to decide whether or not I want you to keep a milk card out, or I want to get Vraska to alt.
No, Brian's correct. I have to do that. Even though this is the whole point of my deck. And Brian's gonna be like,
Yeah,
I'll let you keep it if it makes you feel better.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, that's not beautiful.
Oh, this is good.
The other aspect that I've always enjoyed about Star Wars was the toys. I always thought the toys were cool. What are you doing? You want to exile that? Why are you exiling that?
That's a problem.
Fine, whatever. You want to? I don't know what you're trying to cast.
Well, I can't flip search for a stanza while you have Field of Ruin.
Oh, because in response I just destroy it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I have to get rid of that if I want to be able to flip my search.
I was hoping you wouldn't. You just forget I had it up there.
Oh no. We don't
And that's why Brian's a good player, and I'm just casual. No, you're supposed to swing. And then I was going to seal a whale it.
Oh, don't worry. We're getting there.
Match.
Oh, this is just wrong. So, what rumors have you heard about the third and upcoming film?
I think the only thing I've heard so far is that Luke Skywalker is back in it somehow, so probably as a Force Ghost.
Okay.
And I think J.J. Abrams is involved in it again. So I think that's got fans kind of excited. Oh, look at you. Oh, so I guess you're not going to seal away my stuff.
Seal away what? Some tokens?
This is just Super Friends.
Oh, this is just
I
wrong.
just want to mention this is my own brew, Super Friends. It took me a long time to figure out the mana base for this deck.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. The mana
Uh,
base is probably the toughest part about Super Friends.
you know, we're at 30 minutes, so we're getting to where I need to shut this down, but not yet. I have to take this.
Oh, we're close. Don't worry. I get to alt Vraska next
Oh, I know what I need in this deck. I need to return all target permanents to their hand. I need
turn.
4 of those. I need to spend, but I'm not wasting my rares on those. I got to work on my mentor, and
Oh, I think that's River's Rebuke. I think that might
yeah,
be.
I have one, and there might even be one in this deck. All right.
Though I'm not gonna lie, at this point, I don't think you're at a really good spot because I altered to Fairy, so I have an emblem
Yeah,
to
I saw
have
that.
Vraska and Bolas both out.
Just finish it. For those of you who are new to the channel, hello. I hope you like what you've been seeing. My recording schedule is the following. Monday through Friday is comic book gallery related videos. On Thursdays, because I'm an artist,
I know what
I have
must
Sketchbook
be done.
Thursdays, and I promote my Patreon, which is teaching little kids from ages 1st through 3rd how to draw. I use my niece, and my nephew's going to be in some incoming videos. And on the weekends, I do Magic the Gathering related videos. So this is kind of like your one stop. You're into Magic the Gathering, you're into comic books,
Skip to the good
you can
point.
appreciate art. This is the place to be, people. And hopefully he will not drag this out like he did on the other video and be like, "Oops, I forgot."
The temptation to have 6 Planeswalkers out was too real.
Yeah, I got that on. I got that. That's gonna be actually loaded right now. I gotta do that. Thank God. And let that be a proper ending. I hope you, like I said, I hope you've been enjoying the series that I've had with Brian Ramos talking about Magic the Gathering, Star Wars comics, and any other just geek topics. If there's something that you would like to know about, it's not just him that I rely on. There are other people whose knowledge about Magic the Gathering goes back. I know a few owners of stores who have been collecting since the beginning. So if there's a question you would like me to research or talk about, leave that in the comments below. So have a good weekend, folks. Take care, and I will catch you later. Say bye, Brian.
Later.
Later.